Welcome to the Damaged Goods podcast with myself, Jess Robert, and Ill Vibe. This is our 5th episode and second episode with just the two of us. Big thank you to our sponsors from our last few episodes. And if you'd like to sponsor a future episode, email us at damagedgoodspod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And a big thanks, as always, to lyricvids.com, the web's #1 lyric video animation company. I'm having trouble today.
It's okay. And that was our second attempt. We messed up the first one.
Yeah, we messed up and had a fight already after the first one.
It wasn't a real fight. I love when you tell people that, like, we fought. And I'm like, I have been in relationships with our fights. We barely fight. Yeah. Normally, I just say one intense thing, and then you go, I don't want any of your intensity.
You're just like, oh, my dick's just not turned on to like 10 right now. I'm only like a 2 dick.
No. Well, I'm never a 2 dick. Sometimes I come down to an 8, but that's it.
So I always give you a sexy intro about who you are. I think that you should give me an intro about who I am.
I like that very much. Jessica Robert, feminist, entrepreneur, aspiring stand-up comedian, broadcaster, quick study at animation.
What does that mean?
I mean, I taught you a little bit about animation, and within a year, you became like the MVP at the company and are like crushing it. You're our leading sales rep here at lyricvids.com, and the host of a brand new hit podcast, Damaged Goods. Everybody, Jessica Robert.
Thank you.
What I love about it, just doing me and you, is after the last episode that you and I did together by ourselves before Katie, because she was the worst. No, I'm joking. I love Katie. I really enjoyed the me and you episode. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Because when I'm listening to podcasts I don't always love the one no guest. Like, I don't always love the podcast where the guest isn't there and they're just like, hey, we didn't get anybody today.
It just feels like filler sometimes. Where it's just like, oh.
But it didn't feel like that with us.
Yeah, no,
at least to me.
And we got a lot of positive feedback from it. A lot of people sent us messages
3
saying,
or 4 messages.
I really liked the episode with just the two of you. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I think it came out better than I expected. I was on a little high the whole night being like, that's what I want our podcast to be. And I really enjoy with the guests. And I think when you have guests, there's a yin-yang situation because they bring something. So they've got stories, every single one of our guests has said something funny. But at the flip side, you try to squeeze in a little like intro to who they are, whether you're promoting their projects in like Notion's case. And so it felt fun to be like, what do you want to talk about? There was nothing. I'm not like, only thing I'm promoting is this dick and you already going to get married to it. So,
you're so romantic.
We dropped my dick references twice in one episode. It's very relaxing. But yeah, so I think we started talking about doing an episode this week, and we've been talking about maybe alternating the one episode with a guest and then one just me and you, and the one with a guest and one me and you. And I think people can follow how that's going to
for sure. And if you're listening right now and you have an opinion, you like it better when we have guests, you like it better when we don't have guests, just let us know. It's just good information for us to have, because then we know how many of these we should do where it's just the two of us.
I really love the feedback. You know, somebody said it was really relaxing to listen to us. Somebody else, I think it was a music fan of mine, I guess, said they got a better understanding about who we are.
Our cake farts were like a huge hit.
Cake farts. Stop bringing the cake farts up.
No,
I don't want
have
cake farts
to bring it up because we've gotten so many messages about it.
I'm not mad at it. I just it's funny. Like I still have to this day. I've still never seen a cake fart.
Yeah.
So it's become this like reoccurring thing that I can't even envision. Except
we're gonna have people like sending us cake fart videos.
Yeah, please don't send me cake fart videos. But yeah, so I think this is cool, and we're kind of finding the format of the show as we go.
Yeah, I like it too. You're smoking like a huge joint right now.
First one of 3. Let's address that for a second, because if I was a fan of a podcast and I watched, and they were chain smoking joints and drinking on every episode, I might be concerned. Mm-hmm. Or I'd be excited, one or the other. Like Drink Champs, they drink on every episode. That's the Noriega podcast. But you kind of know that's their thing, because they get drunk on every episode. But people don't necessarily know when they tune into our podcast that will be.
It's not really part of our shtick necessarily.
No. It turns out maybe it is.
Yeah. My point that I was going to make, though, is that looks great, but I really can't. I don't think I'm ever going to get into like smoking weed.
What you should do is when you're comfortable, and we've done this a couple of times, take a hit at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I should do that.
Like when I'm smoking that third joint, you can smoke it and be in the vibe and recording it in the convo. And then if we really find you're like, hey man, this is no longer good, and we're at an hour 40, we can cut it. Because it is fun to smoke and talk. That's why I don't need to smoke joints to talk, but it's fun to kind of get into the conversation, and I'm hitting it, I'm talking.
If I really clammed up, you might have to like pick up the slack on the smooth outro that I always do.
I've been doing that for a long time with you, babe.
Hey, it's not very nice.
Enjoyable. So what are you drinking? You drinking cheap red wine tonight?
I'm drinking very cheap red wine. It was basically the largest bottle I could get for the cheapest amount of money.
I love it. Bang for your buck. As somebody who splits your wine budget, I appreciate you doing it that way. I drink Scotch and Coke, or whiskeys and Cokes, or I guess rye and Coke.
Which is like blasphemous to real like whiskey fans.
It is. It's blasphemous. I'm a bit of a wuss. I stopped saying pussy this year because pussies aren't weak. I'm a bit of a wuss. I'm weak when it comes to whiskeys. I love how it tastes with Coke. Like, I love it. I wouldn't even drink Coke without whiskey anymore, you know? But I can't drink it alone. Like, I just can't do it. I try, you know, and when there's a man around with some manly stubble and I'm feeling intimidated, I might try.
Yeah, we had that whiskey tasting at my friend Hollis's house.
Couldn't do it.
They had like 3 different kinds of like premium whiskey, and he gave the story kind of behind each one and stuff, and then we got to taste them for free and stuff, and you wouldn't even...
I came, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's just, when I do shots or drink alcohol straight, which to me is the same thing, it's such an unpleasant experience. I don't do shots anymore. How long has it been? Because I forget. I'm bad at time. So the last time I did a shot was when? What's your recollection of the last time I drank straight alcohol?
That would be in Cuba when we were just like really vibing with like the old people there. We basically went to like an older person's resort in Cuba, and we were like the youngest one. We're not even that young, and we were the youngest ones there. And we hung out with a bunch of, you know, old married couples the whole time, and we were just vibing with them. We were dancing, and she got the whole table shots, which is funny because it's all inclusive, so it's not really her buying shots.
Sure.
It's just
she got them.
She got the shots, yes.
Yeah.
And you were just having such a good time that you did one.
I said, you know what, I'm going to do one. I never do one, but I'm going to do one.
Yeah.
And it was warm, and I think it was rum. It was warm rum.
It was also like the worst shot you could have done.
Low, you know, it's like there's like bar rail. This is bar rail in Cuba.
Bar fail.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. And so yeah, I did a warm shot, and I immediately turned around and threw up into the bush behind me, and I looked you in your face, and what did I say?
You said no more shots.
No more shots, and I've never done another shot since then. And that's gotta have been like, it was in the first year of our relationship.
Yeah. It was.
So 3 years ago, we'll say?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
3 years ago, I haven't done, and I'm happy to drink. If you're a subscriber of this podcast, you know that. I'm 4 for 5.
Also, if you're a whiskey brand, feel free to sponsor us, because he will put it with his coat.
I was sent. Who sent me whiskey?
Knox.
Knox and Dunn.
Yeah.
Listen, this episode is not sponsored by Knox and Dunn, but Knox and Dunn did have the foresight to send me a free bottle of whiskey.
You have been previously sponsored by Knox and Dunn.
Yeah, they sent me a free bottle of whiskey last summer, and I did defile it with carbonated beverages. I didn't drink it straight, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I enjoy, you know what I like about Knox and Dunn?
We're definitely going to tag them in that.
And not just Knox and Dunn, but like, I enjoy the whiskey drinking experience when you pull out like the cork and it gives you like the...
Yeah.
And it just sounds, and you're like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
And yeah, Knox had that cork situation going on, and I'm drinking Grant's no cork. I'm in the no cork budget range right now.
I don't think Grant's is going to sponsor us.
Hey, I drink a lot of Grants. They should consider it.
They should.
So yeah, you'll notice I always drink whiskey Cokes, and I'm a really picky person when it comes to food and drink, and it makes me sad because I wish I was that guy who'd be like, let's have some gin. Oh, you know what I feel like tonight? Let's totally make this new like margarita. I can't fuck with any of that stuff. I drink whiskey Cokes. I also drink Stella Artois, as we covered with Nosh. Now that sucks because I kind of have this like really particular palate that I've tried to kind of grow mostly unsuccessfully. But the flip side is sometimes I go play a show somewhere and I get there and they're like, bottle of whiskey in the hotel room. because they just know. They know
that that's all you
that's my
drink.
shit, and they know that I'm.
And on the negative side, often you'll have somebody really cool too, who's like, "Man, I bought you this drink," or "Do you want to do this shot with me?" And you have to turn it down, and it's an awkward thing.
It happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now with shots, the good thing is I've got a beautiful fiance who's not yet off shots.
I'll do them shots.
So a lot of the time I pass the shot to Jess. The situation that gets weird is when they've already bought one for you.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes you do
so
both.
many shots.
Not always, but sometimes you do both.
I will do them both. I'll take one for the team.
I love it. So yeah.
Can I tell you a story?
Tell me, Biz.
So I've never told you this story before.
Like for real, even like off the podcast.
No,
this is not.
I don't think I've ever told you the story
Okay,
before.
tell me the story. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to finish my joint and enjoy.
So this happened a long time ago when I was very young. I probably was about maybe 6 years old, and my sister was like 9 or 10 years old. And we would lay in the summertime. We would lay on the floor because we had no air conditioning. Is that a normal thing? I always wonder, like, is that a normal thing that people do? Like, or were we the only ones who had no air conditioning, or like?
No, I had periods in my life with no AC, and definitely what we did is we made it a cool thing to hang out in the basement. My mom, like, I guess we're sleeping in the basement. I guess that's part of the year, and that was just like a thing we did.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so we would lay on the floor. So basically, we would set up our comforter and stuff on the floor, and we had one of those big square fans, those like floor fans. You know what I'm talking about, right? They usually have a handle on the top, but they're like those big bricks,
square, like a big rectangle.
Big rectangle,
Sure,
yeah. So we had one of those, and we would literally like lay like right in front of it. And one day, it caught on fire.
The fan did?
Yes, and it was making like a woo sound, and there was flames like it was still moving, so there was flames being like blown at me and my sister. We were screaming, and my mom came and unplugged it, and then we all had a laugh, and now we still like joke about it sometimes at like family events. But I thought about it recently, and I'm like, could we have like sued that fan company? Because we were little children, and my mom was home, thank goodness, and she came and like unplugged the fan. But if that fan like lit our bedroom on fire, or house on fire, like, is that like a suable thing, do you think?
Okay, ready? I'm going to pretend I'm the caseworker in like you've gone into some place where they say they'll cover the legal fees if you want to sue them. You know those commercials?
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you the questions like you come in and you're seeing if you can sue. Okay, ready?
Okay.
How long did you have the fan for when it caught on fire? And if you don't know exactly, what do you think?
Well, I was 6 years old, but I would imagine we probably didn't have it that long.
Was it an old fan or a new fan, as you recall it?
I would say it was probably about the same age as me, maybe like about like a 5 or 6 year old fan.
I would call that an old fan.
Is that an old fan?
I would call that an old fan. Yeah.
Oh.
And it was which room was this in?
This was in our bedroom. Me and my sister's shared bedroom.
The house that you live in, that your parents still live in?
Yes.
Is it an old house?
Yes.
Probably with old wiring.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm poking holes in it, and I'm on your side. Yeah, for sure. I think that's
Really?
problematic. It doesn't mean no.
Okay.
I'm not saying no, but I mean
So
if it's
now-
an old house and an old fan, that's very different than a lot of the cases you hear when they're
You're right.
recalling a product, and you could sue if the shit catches on
You're
fire.
right. So now I have a second story.
Okay, cool.
Which now, having heard your theory about our old wiring, I think that might be what it was.
Listen, I'm not saying I can reverse engineer shit I don't even know about yet, but I can reverse engineer shit I don't even know about yet.
So my second story is now I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser.
How old are we talking?
I would say like maybe 13 or 14 years old.
So not
Old enough
wiser.
that I wanted to like look nice. So I was in the bathroom and I was blow drying my hair, styling my hair.
Were you hot yet?
I got hot around when I was like, creepy question, I guess, to answer, but when I was like 14.
I'm not saying like would I be interested at this age now, but I'm just saying is this the age?
Would 14-year-old Ilva be interested in 14-year-old
Yes.
Jess? Probably.
Okay,
I think I would have been your type because I was like a little tomboy and
Cool.
like
I dig it.
Yeah. So I was blow drying my hair, trying to look nice, and all of a sudden my teeth clenched. I remember like that very specifically, that like all of a sudden my teeth clenched, and I didn't even like really fully register what was happening right away. I was just like, oh, like why are my teeth clenching? And then it stopped, and then I kept blow drying my hair. I don't know why I would just keep going, and then it happened again, and I realized that I was being electrocuted. Like the hair dryer was electrocuting me. So I somehow like, I think it was kind of electrocuting me like in bursts. So I was able to let it go. I like threw it out of my hand, and when it hit the ground, it kind of like exploded. And then the hilarious part was, instead of, calling the company or whatever, my parents just like let my dad take it apart and like fix it. And I'm like, he probably didn't even he doesn't know anything about fixing hair dryers. Like it probably would have done it again. I remember I was just like terrified to use hair dryers after that.
That's crazy.
So I think the wiring in our house might have been messed up.
I'm going to turn you down a little bit. We're peaking a little bit here and there. That's crazy. When I was younger, I electrocuted myself once by accident late at night. The thing that I used to do was I had one of these little TV sets. I guarantee they don't even make these things anymore. Do you ever seen like a little TV set that's like the size of a boombox and the screen is like the size of like an iPhone?
Yeah.
Like a little TV, you know?
Yeah.
And you have like the little metal thing that you'd pull up and it would pick up some fucking
Yeah, it's usually got like the
signals in
two
the air.
knobs but it's just like a little mini one, right?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I think my dad won one of those in one of his like company Christmas party raffles or something.
Yeah, of course. That's where you get those.
You know, that's the only place that actually sells them these days. And he won one of those and he gave it to me as the eldest, proudest son. And I used to stay up late watching it. And they'd put me to bed and I would then wake up and I'd bring the fucking little TV into my bed, pull the antenna out from above the covers, and watch late night TV.
That makes you seem like way older than me for some reason. You're only 5 years older.
It's not that I'm like super old, but there's definitely I come right before a lot of technology changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I remember when you picked up signals from the air with a fucking antenna for most of the things that you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like at RC cars, radio, and TVs, all these shit had fucking antennas. We don't use antennas for anything anymore. It's just like built inside the phone these days, right? But yeah, anyways, so late at night, I remember I used to do this thing where I would hold the plug with my finger so I would know where the two little prongs were. Uh-huh. And then I would use my other hand to feel.
No, that's exactly what you're not supposed to do.
Hear me out. I would use my other hand to find the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And I knew it was dangerous.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would get, because it was dark, I would get close enough that I was not touching, move both hands and plug it in. And that way I knew I was close.
Yeah.
And in my little like 6 or 7 year old mind, this makes perfect sense. And it still does to a degree, except I would just go about it a different way. Also, I'm an adult. I'll just turn the fucking lights on and go watch TV. But so one night I distinctly remember I did that, but my finger got caught on the second prong right as it touched the thing.
Yeah.
And I electrocuted myself so intensely and it scared the fuck out
It's
of
a
me.
really crappy feeling.
It scared me
really
so
doesn't
much
feel
as a
good
kid.
because it's like different than like stubbing your toe or like hitting your head or whatever. You know what I mean? It's a very like internal pain, whereas like just stubbing your toe, you know what I mean? You know what that pain is, but electrocuting yourself is so weird and weird feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I remember I went downstairs and I saw my parents and I didn't want to tell them what
And you were powder. You're powder now.
Yeah, I'm powder now. I didn't want to tell them what I'd been doing because then I was
Yeah.
going to give up the whole stick.
Oh yeah, because you weren't allowed
that
to
I
do
stay
it.
up late and I watch TV. Even at that age, I was a little sociopath. Even at that age, I knew the first time they caught me, it would alert them to there was even something to catch me for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and up
for
until that
sure.
point, they had no idea there was even something they should be watching me for. And so I remember I went down and saw them and I like told them I was scared. And then they're like, it's okay. And I was like, okay. But I didn't tell them why I was scared. And so began a cycle of dishonesty between me and my parents. Yeah, but that's you saying, I don't think I would have thought about that electrocution if you hadn't told me about yours.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that brings back super memories of being like terrified. And then all of a sudden I realized that, when they say you could, like that thing could kill you, that thing on the wall, they're
actually can.
They're not
Yeah.
joking.
Yeah.
Crazy, scared little Illy and Jess.
I remember this rumor went around about a kid at school who had a lisp, that the reason he had a lisp was because he was dared to put a paperclip on his tongue and then stick it in a socket. I kind of feel like that probably wasn't true.
Wow.
I feel like that's like a big like kid rumor that the kids make up. But that's what people say.
That it will electrocute you?
No. That's how he got his lisp. That was like the rumor was that he had done that.
Are you saying that as in you believe anything but that's what the kids are making
I'm
up?
not believe. I don't believe it. I'm just saying that's what people. I'm just saying that's what people said. Okay.
Okay. Wow. God,
I'm not saying whether it's true or
I'm
not.
doing like a Latin girl accent or something there?
No.
I felt a little racist.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be a diva, a
Non-ethnic diva?
non-ethnic or any ethnicity of diva.
Vaguely ethnic divas?
Yeah, sure.
A little VED?
I'm vaguely ethnic, so.
I am over here smoking a joint. Do you know about Bill C51, my lovely fiance?
I do not. I don't know what
Bill
that is.
C51 for my friends around the world, because all my Canadians for certain know about it, is, the weed smoking ones.
Oh, okay.
Is the marijuana legalization bill here in Canada. And just yesterday, I believe, they passed that bill in whatever our government building's called. I don't fucking know. But they passed the bill C51, not just for the legalization of medicinal marijuana, but the legalization of recreational marijuana, a phrase I've been waiting to hear since I was 16 years old. So we're talking 19 years I've been waiting for those words.
So what does that mean, like practically? Like what's changing?
It means if a police officer finds weed in my backpack, he gives it back to me. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. What about going into like a venue or something and you have
Samesies, I think. Well,
they can still make the rules, I
yes.
think, right?
So venues can still say they're anti-weed, although it being legal means I think it'll apply pressure on venue owners to not be making a point of stopping
let me
people
ask
to
you
have
this.
weed.
Can venues say that they're anti-cigarette? Because I know you can't smoke in venues, but are they allowed to say you can't bring those in here?
Well, you can. Legally, they can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
Now, question is, would it be a good business idea to say you cannot even bring cigarettes into the building?
Yeah.
And I think most would say probably not. Even places that are like, they don't even have a smoking section at all. Go out front if you want to smoke. Even they don't. They choose not to say that you can't come in with cigarettes. And the other thing is when weed becomes legal, you start to have more weed products. You know what I mean? So when you go in, if you've got like a vape pen, they're not going to take that away from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you go in there and you've got just a really nice, like store-bought, airtight jar of weed in your purse, that starts to sound like maybe you don't need to take that away.
Yeah,
You know what
but
I
do you
mean?
think it's going to take a little bit before they get there? Because,
Yeah, I
for
don't
example,
know.
the
I don't know how
vape pen
it'll
thing, they wouldn't take it because they're not allowed to take it, but they would totally not let you in.
Oh, certainly right
certain
now.
venues would not let you in if you brought in like a vape pen. They would say you can't.
You're
come in
right.
with
I
that.
think no matter what, weed's going to be its own thing. It's not cigarettes, and because those bouncers and those managers know that recently it was illegal, they might be able to get away with more than if it was cigarettes. So they might be able to say you can't bring it in. I've had so many times when I opened for Pharaoh Monch at the Opera House, they took my weed out of my bag, and they didn't even just say like you can't bring this in. He stuffed it in a bucket of water.
That's so crazy.
It's so fucked up.
That's so intense.
And not that like me being the opening act is a huge deal. I never walk around with a big ego. That's not my shit. But let me go smoke it. Mm-hmm. Don't throw it in the water. Like, and that's just one of 100 stories of bouncers being dicks to me about weed.
I feel like
for absolutely no
I want to
reason.
like talk to that bouncer and be like, "Who hurt you?" Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Who threw you in the water?
yeah, or like maybe his like dad, like who beat him, like really smoked a lot of weed or something. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people do have this like negative relationship with weed. It's just like I don't get it.
Yeah. So in any case, I think there is going to be still. I think you're right. It's going to be kind of a slow thing at first, where some places are going to be pro marijuana because the owner smokes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're going to be like, hey, no sweat, just don't smoke in the venue, guys. We don't have a permit for that. And if you do, you'll be asked to leave. And that's all it needs to be. And so I think other places will follow suit. And then I think it just, I don't know, man. If I was to bet at some point, it'll get to the just don't smoke it in the venue. If you do, you'll be asked to leave. Just like with cigarettes or anything else that you shouldn't be doing. Even like with cocaine, you can't do cocaine on like the bar. If they see you, they'll ask you to leave. Mm-hmm. They don't call. I don't think they call police or any shit like that. They just say get the fuck out of here and no cocaine on the bar or whatever. So I think that why can't we just be like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Anyways, although I guess if they find coke, they probably ask you to leave. But it's smaller. It's easier to hide. It's a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like coke users are like way more used to like having to hide it. So
And it's way tinier.
Yeah.
You could put that anywhere. Weed is like I roll in there with a big bag of weed that's like the size of my phone, although not all the way full, but like it's a big thing, much harder to hide.
I could put it in my vagina for you, babe.
I've never asked a girl to put anything in her vagina other than
You
my,
wouldn't have to
my
ask.
penis.
I actually wouldn't put it into my vagina,
But
by
you
the
put
way.
it like down in your panties, you mean?
Yeah. Which you could always do too, I mean, technically.
Yeah, I wear boxer briefs and they're
Yeah.
a little bit tight, but I still think, I mean, if it was a big, like proper Ziploc baggie of weed, I guess that would work. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it would work.
Yeah.
I feel like you just don't want to have to do that before
Yeah,
you go
no,
into a
I'm
venue,
not-
right? You just want to.
Why do we got to put anything in our underwear?
Yeah, why are we putting stuff in our underwear? One time I put shrooms in my underwear. And the baggie was
Was it to get high?
Okay, let me tell you the story. So we were on our way into WEMF, which is the World Electronic Music Festival.
Sneaking drugs into festivals is an art form, first
and
of
it
all.
wasn't mine. It was just I was going in with a bunch of guys, so I said I'll just put it in my underwear or whatever, and I put it in.
ass
But
bitch
then
right
we were. It was a ridiculously hot day in the summer. We were in the car. It was like a festival where you bring your car in and then you park next to your camping site and stuff. So you're in the car. It was really hot, and the baggie was like a thin, like it wasn't even like a Ziploc. It was like one of those bags that you just like turn over on itself. So it's, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's just like.
Oh, you mean
it's probably made by Ziploc
there
as
was
well,
no
but
zip
there's
on
no
the
zip.
bag.
It's
Yeah.
just like a plastic bag, and then you just like
bullshit
flip
ass
it.
sandwich
Yeah.
bags. I
So I
hear you.
had that with shrooms in it in my panties, and I was just like, what if because I'm sweating so much, these like seep into my body, and like it didn't happen. So I was all good. Did you hear that the end of the world is coming in 2135?
This is the third movie in the trilogy, right? First it was like 2000, and then there was some other shit. or maybe there was some shit before 2000. I can't remember, but there was 2, and this will be the 3rd one. But that's still we're not going to be around for that. I think with medical evolution, we're going to die just before this.
Okay. So let me explain what it actually is for people who didn't hear this.
Oh, I didn't hear anything. I'm just riffing on the idea of dying before the actual apocalypse. But
okay, so basically there's an asteroid that's predicted to potentially, not even for sure, hit the Earth. But basically NASA announced on September 22nd of 2135, there's a small chance that an asteroid a third of a mile across, which is pretty big. What's a third of a mile? Like,
what's a third of a mile?
yeah, would that be like a shopping mall, or what would that be?
Oh, I don't know. Let's say a shopping mall.
Would it be that long?
I'm with a shopping mall.
I feel like it might even be smaller than a
even
shopping
if it's
mall.
0.8 shopping malls or 1.2 shopping malls, I still think that's a good.
It's a big asteroid.
Or a mid-sized shopping mall.
There's a chance it's going to slam into the Earth with an impact equivalent to the U.S. nuclear ballistic missile. So that's a pretty big deal.
I have a theory.
Okay.
You mentioned this just briefly before, and we opted not to talk about it before we came on the podcast. But I did have a thought when you first told me about it, and it was, first thing I said was, "Where's it going to land? Like, where's this thing going to hit on Earth?" They know the date, they know the year. I bet they know the place. But here's the thing: if they say the place, that will affect the future and economy of that place.
Oh, I never even thought
forever.
of that. That's so crazy.
For the next century and a half.
Yeah.
That place is going to be the place that scientists predict is going to get hit by a fucking. So my guess is what they're going to do is, because if I recall correctly, they are planning stuff.
Yeah. So basically, they essentially have plans, just like the movies Armageddon and Deep Impact or whatever, where they have stuff that's going to essentially like shoot it out of the sky or whatever, or send a team up there.
Bruce Willis's phone just rang, and they want to know if he's available.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what the plans are, but they have plans to steer it off course.
We need you to save the world. Again. This time it's the real world.
So when I first told you this, you said that we'd be living on Mars by then.
That's not what I said. Oh, you mean, I think that is what I said. I just misunderstood you now.
Right.
Yeah, I believe we'll have a colony on Mars by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elon Musk is already talking about who should go up, what the experience will be like. The technology already exists. I know that it's not going to happen tomorrow, maybe not even in 10 years, but it will certainly happen like in 20 years. And I think we'll have a full colony up there by then, which is interesting because science-wise, it's important to our species to not be all on one planet. That way, if one mall turns into, let's say in 50 years, they go, oh my God, there's 3 of them. Which is not impossible.
Yeah.
If one can happen, 3 is not impossible. Then it will be very good news that there's 100,000 some odd people on a different rock, in case shit really hits the fan here. In terms of, I'm a big fan of people and humans as a concept and as a species and as a thing.
Humans as a concept.
Listen, all my favorite shit was invented by humans.
Yeah,
I love music, podcasting. Name me one cool thing that wasn't invented by humans. I can't think of anything. And so it would really suck if we all bit the dust at the same time. And so that's super dark. But when I hear things like, oh, meteors can come to Canada, that alerts that like science-minded person. We watch a lot of apocalypse movies. I read a lot of like end of world books. I think about it a lot, that like the ultimate thing that we should really be thinking about. This is the thing I think about a lot, and I'd like to fucking run it by you. If we were to sit down right now and say we can remake the rules for world governments, what's the most important thing that everybody should be worried about? And then we write that on one piece of paper. You and I are going to like list them.
Okay.
We're not actually going to, but this is like a thought experiment.
Okay.
On this other piece of paper, we're going to list the things that appears to us do matter to governments the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On their list is like some bullshit about like gay marriage and like how many guns and all those things. Those are important to us. But on my list over here is like, well, first thing on the list, how do we make sure we don't all die one day? That's the most important thing. Who can get married if a rock hits us and we're all gone?
Yeah.
And so when you hear things like, oh, Trump is like doesn't buy the whole NASA thing, it's just like, they're the only leg of the government that is watching like the death bombs from the sky. And I mean like meteors. I'm not talking like aliens or anything weird in conspiracy even. Just the idea that meteors can land and wipe out countries. That's a thing that happens. We've got many of it happen. Many times it's happened in history. And I've never once heard a politician say, and also, you know what? We've been thinking about it. We should spend more money watching for that stuff. And like, Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
And
no,
same thing with like
totally.
global warming. How come the first thing my leaders aren't talking about is global warming? That could kill us all.
And to me, even
Who cares about gas prices
you don't
if-
believe in global warming, like specifically as a threat or whatever.
There are real threats.
No, I know.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm sorry. I'm just excited.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that all the decisions that you make that will help global warming, all the things we can do as a people to slow it down or whatever, are all good things anyways, even if you don't believe in the actual, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So it's just like we should be investing in those things to just make the world better and make us be around for longer and all that.
Totally.
Stuff.
Like, and I'm not saying everything should be about protecting the species, but the fact that I'm now in my 30s and I've never heard any leader who wants my support say, and here's the part of the plan where we protect our species.
Yeah. Other than like
But they don't really.
Al Gore.
Al Gore, but and I'm not that political, but I didn't really hear that messaging from him until after he was a politician.
That's true.
When he
And
got into
we're
the
also
movie
Canadian,
space.
so
yeah, and so maybe and I'm sure actually his supporters would be like, no, he was always very environmental. I bet
he was.
I
just bet that once the president thing was not going to happen, he went like full force.
And that
into it.
documentary got for his An Inconvenient Truth got an Oscar nomination, and so all of a sudden it became this like very big piece of media that he was associated with. So I think it just kind of got on everyone's radar. But in any case, you just don't hear enough politicians talking about that. And as a science-minded person, I'm somewhat concerned about it. You know, when we were in Europe, I was really fascinated by some of those streets we were on. I was like, at some point in history, like the Black Plague came through here and killed so many people.
Yeah.
And you just suddenly realize like that's possible. It's possible that ailments could catch on and wipe out a percentage of people.
Do you think it's as possible now with like all the technology
I do,
that we have?
especially with the growing number of people who are vaccine deniers. I think the number of people who
But let's say something so let's say because of the vaccine deniers, something starts to be a little bit like widespread or whatever. Don't you think we'd have the resources to shut it down a lot quicker now?
I do think we would have the resources to shut it down a lot quicker these days. We have seen things pop because of vaccine deniers. We've seen things that were previously basically gone at their 99.9 percentile start to pop back up, and I actually can't remember which one it is that they said they've recorded their first case in so many years, and they attribute it to so much popular discussion of
measles.
I think it might have been measles.
Measles.
But it's just it goes to what I'm saying. It's an area we don't want to play around with.
Yeah.
So why is the government not spending money? If they want to spend money on something, you want to have these fucking overfunded programs, spend money on vaccine education so that 100% of parents understand that this is important. You know what I mean? Yeah. That I'm pro that. Instead of spending money on other things that I think so many of us were not.
It's so funny the things that they're focused on.
Cardi B just went viral right now. Like as I'm saying this, Cardi B's going viral with this video. Listen, I'm going to play it on my microphone because this is the greatest thing in the whole wide world.
Is it related to what we were just saying?
It is. Funny enough, it is.
Amazing.
That's why I'm so excited about this.
I love
Cardi
it.
B made a little video about where the government spends her money. You ready? Ready for this? And I love this. Okay.
The government is taking 40% of my taxes. And Uncle Sam, I want to know what you're doing with my fucking tax money. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, when you donate to a kid from a foreign country, they give you updates of what they're doing with your donation. I want to know what you're doing with my fucking tax money because I'm from New York and the streets is always dirty. We was voted the dirtiest city in America. What is y'all doing? There's still rats on the damn trains. I know y'all not spending it in no damn prison because y'all be giving niggas like 2 underwears, 1 jumpsuit for like 5 months. So what is y'all niggas doing with my fucking money? What is y'all doing with my fucking money? I want to know. I want receipts. I want everything. I want to know what y'all niggas doing with my fucking money. What is y'all niggas doing with my fucking money? Uncle Sam, I want to know what the fuck you're doing with my motherfucking money.
Oh my God, the ending is amazing.
5.9 million views in in 22 hours. It's viral AF. And what's beautiful about that is
I love her.
she's great. She's great. What's beautiful about that is she's fucking right.
Yeah.
And it's so fun that someone like Cardi B is so spot on about the government and this way they spend our money. And that's why I jokingly say, I'm like, I think a couple of project managers from an ad agency could run this country better. Because they would just sit down and like, let's make a fucking list. How much money do we have? Well, you're going to give me how much money? And I feel we get a lot more done. And, you know, one of the cases I hear a lot that I always think about And I'm sure to anybody anywhere else, it doesn't mean shit. But one day I was on tour in Calgary. Actually, it wasn't a tour. It was a business trip back in the day when I had my day job. And I got the newspaper at the hotel. And it said on the front page of the Calgary Sun, something about the local government. Someone had blown the whistle that they had spent like $2,000 or $3,000 per chair for the entire like government buildings, which was like some kind of like $250,000 contract for chairs. And it's just like, any office manager at any company would be fired immediately. And you've never heard this story. It's not a thing.
So
you know
I don't know much about politics, but don't they tell you what they're spending like the money on? Isn't that kind of a thing?
But they award private contracts to people, and they get favors and kickbacks. Yeah. It's all that.
No,
weird
I know.
Bullshit,
I know it's all very complicated for sure. Yeah, there almost should be like I was gonna say there almost should be a survey that like is like, what would you like us to spend the money on? You know what I mean? And see what the majority thinks. But then I think that. I hate using the word sheeple, but I think that the government really has created kind of zombies who think that they care about certain things when they actually don't in their day-to-day life. Like,
I don't think the answer is having people vote on every dollar. I think the answer is accountability and transparency.
Yeah.
Because I want to know who pulled the trigger on that. Who is the company? How long has that politician known that company? And I want to make a decision. Do I feel comfortable that you spent my money properly?
Yeah.
And if we as a people feel that someone else will spend it better, it should be like quick turnaround, baby. Like then people will start being accountable.
So do you think there's any chance that like somebody who knows a lot about politics will be like, you idiots, there is that. It's called the blah, blah, blah.
No,
you know
because
what I mean?
I've heard, I've listened to, I've gotten high and listened to way too much AM talk radio about private contracts and the way that they spend this money. And they don't spend it in the same conservative way that you would spend it if it was your money. If you worked for a company and your job was to order the chairs, you would order them for as little as possible. But in this particular case, in the Calgary Sun, the reason there was an expose written was they clearly had not done that. They had spent like 30 or 40 times the average amount, even for a high quality chair. You know what I mean? So they had gotten rinsed. They had gotten rinsed in a way that nobody else would ever get rinsed. So how is it that they're that bad with our money? And if they are, shouldn't somebody get fired? Maybe we can hire somebody who's great with money. Somebody from fucking, when I worked in the ad business, the lady who manages the money for the ad agencies is a fucking ninja. She's like, there's 17 different clients and all these monies coming in, and she knows which percentages, and we're 12% ahead of. And then fucking the Calgary Sun's like, yeah, we spent $250,000 on chairs. We should have spent $20,000. And it's like, okay, why don't they hire this girl? Like, why doesn't in the corporate world, you see these people who would get fired if you weren't that good. Mm-hmm. How come the government is more lackadaisical than Pepsi in terms of who they hire and fire?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, trust me. I said that a lot about the situation in the U.S. where it's just like, I don't want to get into that, but it's just like
I hear you.
They hold managers of Pepsi or of like a CEO of, some cosmetic brand to a higher standard than they're currently holding a lot of the politicians. Right. So, yeah, it's messed up. I feel like this is a really serious podcast. This podcast got so serious.
No, you want to get silly? Let's talk something silly. We played Cardi B.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not that serious.
No, let's talk about Annihilation, that movie we watched the other night, which I know is still a serious movie. But no. But I have a question related to it.
Can you remind me, because I'm the stoner who give me a reminder about what the movie was.
I'll give you a very official reminder because I wrote down the synopsis.
Give me the official synopsis of the movie because I remember it, but I just want a little refreshment from when I talk.
Natalie Portman, first of all.
Yeah, I remember.
A biologist, Natalie Portman, signs up for a dangerous secret expedition into a mysterious zone where the laws of nature do not apply.
Oh yeah, The Blob.
Yeah, so basically
best blob movie ever made.
Yeah, so it's like a big blob lands on Earth, and when you go inside it, different stuff is happening. I'm not going to get into it. No spoilers.
Don't
I won't get into it. But my question is related to that movie and all those types of movies that we've been watching lately. Do you think there's a trend with making movies about the future right now, like Black Mirror and all these movies that we've been watching, or do you think it's always been there and we're just noticing it more now? Because even I kind of thought about it, and the 80s were like very obsessed with the future. Do you think that's something that we're kind of always obsessed with, or do you think it goes through phases?
I think we've always been obsessed with the future. Mm-hmm. I think what's interesting and is very telling of the time is how do we see the future in each era. So if you go back to a certain time, they saw the future in a very Jetsons way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it was very optimistic because people were starting to invent things. They had the first microwave and TV, and they're like, holy shit, we are about to be some fucking Jetsons. And they were like picturing all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But where we are right now is not that. People don't, when they see the future, it's been quite some time since somebody has pitched me a future that looks like the Jetsons. What I tend to see these days, even in an optimistic future, is overpopulation, grunge, technology at a feverish level that's hard to even understand,
invasions.
alien weather problems and climate change issues, a lot of severe difference between poverty and rich. Mm-hmm. You see, this is how people today see the future. And I think that's very telling.
Yeah. Whereas it was way more optimistic at a certain time, and it seems to be getting grimmer and grimmer.
Yeah, I personally feel quite optimistic about the future.
Is grimmer a word?
People know what you mean.
More grim?
It's good enough.
Okay.
Grimmeth?
Grimmeth. It's the grimmest.
Grimmiest? I'm very optimistic about the future because I like to follow trends. You know, I was good at math in high school, and then I went on to work in a marketing job. And whether you work in marketing or business, you draw like line graphs. You ever drawn a line graph? When was the last time you drew a line graph? Where you like would go, okay, day 1 we're at 2, day 2 we're at 6. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Grade 7.
In any case, you do those a lot in like business.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
I went to makeup school, babe.
And then that's true. And then when you draw a line graph, what's important is you set the points 2, 4, 6, 8. What's important about that line graph is not 2, 4, 6, or 8. It's the fact that it's going from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8.
Right.
Because then what's going to happen from there? It's going to continue.
Going to keep going up.
It's going to go to whatever, 10, 12. It's going to continue to go up.
Right.
And so when you do that enough, every time you see any line graph, your brain goes, well, what's really important here? Like what's actually happening? So today it's 2. Now is 2 good? Was it 2 forever? Or is this the first time it's ever been 2?
Right.
And those are 2 very different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when you look at statistics, and this is honestly what informs so many of my opinions and why I end up in so many fucking internet conversations, because I think not everyone thinks this way, is you want to talk about violence? Well, the graph shows one very specific thing, and that graph shows something very different than what the average person is saying on the internet.
Is that violence is constantly going down?
Yeah, it says violence is constantly, exponentially going down.
Yeah.
At like such a rate, it's like it's dying. Now, is it still there? For sure. There's billions of us, and some of us are fucked up, and some of us are left behind, and some of us are abandoned and not raised properly, and some of us are drug addicts trying to find... There's a lot of reasons why the violence exists still. But once upon a time, it was okay just to be violent for no reason, and no one cared.
Yeah.
And that's a very fucking different thing. And it's easy to think that it's not a different thing. But I would love for you to meet one of the people from that era where they're like, no, someone just raped me for no reason, fam. Just to let me know that they were the one. You know, it's like nowadays, at least those people know that they're going to go to fucking jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Once upon a time, you didn't even go to jail for that. It was commonplace.
Right.
To beat the fuck out of somebody, to hit a kid. You know what I mean? To like take a man's wife. This is like a commonplace thing to do. Now, those things aren't commonplace today. Those things are frowned upon. And
frowned upon.
Well, frowned upon isn't good enough, maybe.
Hit me and take my wife.
It's not good enough yet. Like, I'd like it to be completely gone.
Yeah.
But frowned upon compared to not frowned upon is such a key
Or compared
difference.
to like cheering when someone gets guillotined, you know?
Compared to like bragging. Oh, I fucking punched my wife in the face so hard last night. Yeah? Oh, really? That's dope, fam.
Did they really do that at one point?
Oh, for sure. I had to give my wife a good smack last night.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's
you know
true.
what I mean? Oh,
fucking
good. Did you
Sean Connery.
Yeah, sometimes I got to give my wife a smack too. You know what I mean? And they're like relating over it. You know what I mean? Nowadays, I'm not saying there's no 2 guys in the world having that conversation, but I've never heard it.
No. It'd be pretty rare.
And I think that I feel that way about a lot of things. I feel that way about racism, sexism. I feel that way about global equality.
So you're optimistic.
I'm optimistic. You see these things are moving in the right direction. And that makes me optimistic. That's exactly right.
Since we're talking about the future, I want to touch a little bit on the singularity. I don't want to go crazy into it because I'm sure we could do a whole podcast about it.
We should, but yes. That's another. By the way, just to connect it, that's another reason why I'm optimistic, because there's a lot of intelligence coming, and intelligence solves problems.
So the main Singularity timeline is the Ray. Oh my gosh.
Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil.
Thank you. And basically that's what I'm kind of basing any of these statistics off of. Or not statistics, that's a wrong word. Any of these predictions.
You should probably say what the singularity is. Even if we said it, if we said it
Can you say it?
before.
I feel like you'd say it so much nicer than me.
I'm curious how you...
So the singularity...
Yeah, I'm curious what you'd say.
Is when it's a moment in time where computers are so smart that they basically are fixing themselves and we can kind of step back and it's just happening now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is 100% right. You missed the most important part about the singularity.
Yeah.
Much like the bar graphs, this is the key part of it.
It's like self-sustaining
That's right.
technology.
The fact that they can... So the singularity is the moment when a computer can build a better computer than even a person can.
Yeah.
Because in that moment... they will start advancing at a speed faster than we could have helped them advance. Mm-hmm. And then at a certain point, they will be so advanced, we will barely understand them. And the key is that it's almost instantaneous where the level of intelligence in a computer and in our sort of existence in our world will explode. Because once they can self-improve, computer A makes computer B even better than computer A. Computer B makes computer C twice as good as that, and so on and so forth. So what you have eventually is you have computers who can solve all of the world's problems, map all of the world's people and things, create an entire 3D map of every human that's ever existed on the earth in a moment in a supercomputer.
See, I told you
that's the singularity.
You'd be better at explaining.
Yeah, but it was fun to hear what how you describe it, because I'm a super nerd and I think about this shit constantly, and I think I love that it's on your brain too.
Yeah, for sure. So by 2099, it says that organic human beings will be the small minority of intelligent life forms on Earth. So that means that, like, what does that mean? Wow. Does that mean that, like, humans, there won't be that many humans?
No, I'll tell you exactly what it means. Do you remember, have you ever heard the word the smartification of, like, products?
No.
Okay, so what the smartification of products is probably 5 or 10 years ago when smart TVs were launched, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, smart home security systems they know when you're home and all this shit, you know what I mean? Smart cars, all these smart products started popping up. And the idea is, oh, you like a fridge? You're going to like it a lot better if it knows you. It knows how much ice to make for you. And you know what I mean? You're going to like your phone a lot better if you can say, hey, phone. And it's like, this is smart technology. You know what I mean? And so the idea is at some point we're going to reach, there's no word for this. So instead of smartification, it will be like the AI-ification of all products. So your refrigerator will be an AI. And your home is an AI.
Yeah.
And your phone's an AI. And the idea is that all of those are intelligent beings in theory. And there'll be way more of them than people. Does that make sense? I think that's probably what they mean by that. Because if your car is also
there was another
and your
thing.
phone's intelligent, you know what I mean? And like you've got a personal AI assistant. Those are they're gonna outnumber people.
So that was in 2099, so that's a ways away.
Yep.
Between 2029 or 2029, 2030, that's only 1 year. So I'm guessing they mean in the 20s.
Yep.
Artificial intelligences claim to be conscious and openly petition for recognition of this.
Yeah, we're gonna see that.
So that's way before even what you're talking about. So it's just like, yeah, they would be considered I don't know, citizens. They would be considered.
They're sentient, but it's really a can of worms, because most issues where you like kind of debate it, I think there's a right answer. Mm-hmm. This becomes an issue that you sort of have to choose what your right answer is, because will AI or robots be people? And I mean, the answer by our current definition is no. They're not born of two humans by birth, which is, I guess, like how you make a human.
We're still fighting for freaking gay marriage. I can't believe. I can't even believe that people would.
By then, that conversation will be in the history books.
No, I know, but it's just that's what's so weird about the singularity to me, is that all the predictions are saying that it's going to happen so quickly.
Well, that's why
we're still fighting for these like archaic things. You know what I mean? Like,
you know what? There's something happening right now that small-minded people don't see coming. If you're still having this debate of like if dark skin color is better or worse than light skin color, or if two people with penises should be able to be naked together, you're about to have a lot of trouble when artificial intelligence and virtual reality and augmented reality and people inserting microchips into their fucking brains and we start a fucking colony on other planets. Good luck emotionally dealing with those themes if you can't deal with some extra melanin. Like, it's honestly silly. So I think about people like us and all the other forward-thinking people of our generation. We're the ones ready to have that conversation. We're the ones ready to actually be like, well, is a robot a person? I don't fucking know. And it's going to be really hard. But if you still want to shoot somebody because they believe in a different God than you, you're really going to struggle in this next 20 years.
Yeah, good luck when the singularity happens.
Yeah, when you're because this is real. There's one undeniable fact that anybody listening right now, this is real. At some point in your life, your phone is not just going to know more than you, but way more than you. And I don't mean know it as in like you can search stuff through it. I mean, you'll be having a conversation with it, and it will teach you anything you want to know, and it will. If you're ever having a disagreement with it, it's always right. That's going to happen in your lifetime. This will happen in our lifetime. We will have a cell phone and we'll talk to it and it's always fucking right. So it'll be this thing that we're just used to. Like, hey, there's no point worrying about it. Let's just ask the phone.
Yep. Also on the timeline, 2040, non-biological intelligence will now be billions of times more capable than biological intelligence.
I think little things affect people in big ways. You know what I mean? Like the fact that now we have cell phones, I think we emotionally behave differently because we now this becomes an extension of us and we can expect that it's there for us and you start to anticipate it's very much a part of your life. It's this thing and some of your skills weaken because of it and other ones strengthen because of it and it's become this when it's billions of times smarter than me. When everyone has a God in their pocket, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody has a God in their pocket. That's, in a lot of ways, I feel like all the bickering now is really silly. Because if in 30 years, I can press one button and disappear into a VR universe that's as real as this one, and then all of these conversations are a fucking joke about, you know what I mean? About like, who should be running Ontario, Canada right now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, really soon, one button, I can disappear into a VR universe.
What do you think the singularity and just technology advancements overall will affect like politics? Like, how do you think it'll affect
Well,
that?
I think we're at the precipice of something real. And I think I've been saying it for a while, and I've always been the extreme guy that I don't think the way the system is built right now, I don't think works. It's vastly broken. You know, capitalism is great, but it's broken. Everyone that's what professors always say when I listen on podcasts. It's like capitalism works, but there's problems. And one of those problems is corrupt governments because there's so much fucking money at the top that they end up getting bought out and blah, 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 blah. And everybody knows that these days. When our parents were our age, some people knew it, but they were probably looked at as like pretty extreme that they'd be talking about how the government's corrupt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your mom's high school class, that would have been pretty extreme to be saying that, I think. Or you're at least people would be like, well, that's the activist in the classroom.
Yeah, totally.
These days,
now most people are activists.
Most people feel that way.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think we are at a precipice of if you were to run on a platform of real, honest accountability and you really had your finger on the pulse of what our generation really fucking wants and what really matters to us and what really doesn't matter to us. And you say the things like, hey, and if I don't do it, fucking never vote for me again. That's a guy I might get behind. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And
girl.
Or girl. Sorry, you're totally right. Because I actually, to be honest with you, I think in a lot of ways women are emotionally emotionally way better prepared to be politicians.
Yeah, way less ego.
And great communication skills and great empathy and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But in any case, that's a platform I would get behind. And when politicians start to realize how many of us, that's what we want, is transparency, honesty, and accountability, and none of this like mumbo jumbo where you don't answer the question in interviews. To me, the minute my candidate won't answer a question, then you're no longer my guy.
Yeah,
or
totally.
girl. You know what I mean? Or other. it's like that's a. If we were even going to hire someone here at lyricvids.com, which we're doing, by the way,
we are hiring.
And they won't answer a question, I'm just like, so do you mess with drugs? Like, what's like?
You would never ask that.
No, but I'm saying, like, and they're like, well,
I prefer not to.
yeah, they dodged it. It's like, because it just feels weird. The whole dodging thing feels weird, and so many politicians have been doing it for so long that
our generation
we joke about
really does value like honesty and
Just
like
tell me.
transparency.
Just tell me what's the deal. Because if it's not perfect, I'll still vote for you over the guy who won't tell me what the deal is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think politicians seem to be slow to learn shit. They just do how they've been doing. But we are we're adults now. The YouTuber generation are adults now. The streaming generation are adults. Social media generation are adults. Where are the candidates for us? And I think when those start to pop up, damn near Bernie Sanders almost became a thing. And he's hard to relate to. He's 110. He's hard to relate to. Imagine he had been 55 and really fucking with it and more relatable to the average person, I think, in our voting group. I think that might have been enough to put him over the edge. And I think, I think that we are going to see that happen. So there's that. And the other thing that's going to happen is as technology shifts, I think the role of government's going to change as well. When people aren't going out as much as they used to and spending way more time in VR, and then it's going to be about regulating the VR service will become this huge part of the government's fucking. For example, Zuckerberg right now has to go testify in U.S. court about the big data breach.
Yeah. That's the one that I was talking about today. Right. I forget the name of it.
And it's a big first step because I think the government and Facebook are very separate right now. But in a lot of ways, they actually, I think in the future, are probably going to have a much closer relationship than people would be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because Facebook's such a key part of society. At some point, I could really see the government just being like, we're really sorry. We know you're a company, but you're too important. So now you're kind of a government wing.
Yeah. And it's kind of already happening.
It's already seems like it's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're calling him in to start testifying, I don't know, it just feels to me like these are steps in the direction of Facebook almost becoming part of the infrastructure. Like the business has gotten so big, it's almost too big to be a business at this point. This is part of society, too big to fail. If Facebook fails, like businesses start failing all over America. We have businesses that are run on the backs of social media websites. So they're like, in a lot of ways, they're like banks or automotive companies where they're too big to fail. It would be bad for the whole economy.
I want to go back to you talking about your fridge being a smart fridge, and talking about what I've read about Alexas or whatever the equivalent is. The future of Alexa, or I think what's the other one? Echo is the other one.
That's small.
Is they're basically going to end the smartphone era. Would you believe that that's true? That eventually these like things that are integrated into your home and into your appliances and all that stuff are going to end the need to be constantly on a phone.
I think you're right, but then it'll have to be replaced with something. And Black Mirror always shows those little handsets.
Yeah. Yeah, probably microchips in our brains.
Yeah, that too. But I think like if you were to hack what a phone is, it does a bunch of things. You're like literally, I'm sure like cell phone companies have done this. You list all the things a phone does for you in your life.
Yeah.
Occasional phone calls, don't need a handset for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Text messages, I guess you don't need a handset for that.
Yeah.
If we're at this like elevated level of telecommunication, but do you want to browse photos, for example? Maybe. So now this becomes, well, do we have like built-in eye shit yet? If not, then
or like wall projection stuff. I would say like, maybe. Oh, like Alexa, show me my family photos or whatever, and then they just like are popping.
So like
up.
in a holographic projection.
Yeah.
Because projections suck, but holographic projections might be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is like brain implants. Like I think so many people seem to think it's coming. Joe Rogan talks about it constantly.
Yeah.
You've heard so many scientists say like that's a thing.
Let's see where it is.
But it's really
the Singularity timeline.
It's really weird to think about someone putting actual chips in their brain. Like it's easy to say that, but it's really because what that means essentially is there's a moment where we're going to pass a point where it's normal to go into surgery to become normal.
Yeah.
And that's a big jump. And I'm not saying it will never happen. I suppose it will happen at some point.
And I wanted to talk about that too, because a lot of people are going to resist that when it does start happening.
It's scary. You're going to cut me up and put something in me? There's no way that's 100% safe. Like that's scary.
And then there's viruses and stuff like that. It's like now you have to deal with viruses happening to your brain.
I had never thought about that.
No, for sure.
That's terrifying.
But there'll be, like you said, there'll be a point where it's like, oh, you have to do this to be part of the regular society. And you can probably choose not to still, But then you also have to choose not to do a career,
Yeah.
not to have a career or a social life
Yeah.
that needs that thing.
Well, and honestly, I think if things become normal, like for example, I would bet you to these days, statistically, companies would be skeptical about hiring someone who doesn't use social media. That doesn't mean they never hire and it's completely impossible. But I would think that at a lot of companies, on the corporate side at least, because I used to work with Pepsi.
I feel
and
the
these companies,
pressure.
I think if you didn't use it at all, it wouldn't be a no-go, but
Yeah.
certainly would be a red flag on the resume versus like a big check mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, really? They're disconnected, and I think one could argue that the chip would have the same connotation in this world.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't want to be plugged in? You don't like extra information at your fingertips? Aren't you going to be a bit slower than everybody
And they might
else?
even have ways of like your job would be able to ding, like notify you of something important. It's
Oh,
just like,
for sure, there's
I
efficiencies.
won't be able to notify you when something happens. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's like stressful, but like I could still like understand it. Like I could, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
man. It's very scary. And I
it's
think
like it now, if somebody were to apply to my retail like work or whatever when I was managing one and be like, oh, like I don't have a phone. Sorry, I don't really believe in phones. I would not hire that person. You know what I mean? Instantly, I would not hire them.
Hire once in a while, someone would say, I'm in between phones right now, and I would think, damn man, it was so close.
Yeah, sorry.
'Cause I liked you, but somebody who doesn't have a phone. And see, listen, in little ways,
Even doesn't have an email.
let's own something.
I'd be like, I can't email them to say, hey, I want to set up an interview for whatever.
Let's own something for a moment. In a way, that's us contributing to the problem of, it's like, oh, you don't have all your shit together. Maybe you're down on your luck. I'm not gonna risk it. Not gonna risk it on you. And I think in some ways, I'll own that. That I probably wouldn't have hired somebody if I felt like, they were still getting their shit together. It's just because it's too much risk. Is always how I felt. Like, I don't know if I want someone trying to get their shit together while I'm responsible.
I wasn't
for
even
them.
thinking of it like that. I was more so thinking of it as somebody who doesn't believe in phones or somebody who doesn't believe in like having an email or
with
whatever.
phones, mostly people at the job interviews I use, because when I used to hire, I hired a fair bit at the agencies I worked at, and mostly it was like, I don't have a phone right now.
I even kind of judge people when they have like a Hotmail account.
Yeah.
Or like an AOL.
Which is interesting because Hotmail provides the exact same service as Gmail, and the only reason you switch to
you know what,
Gmail is
I've never
because
seen-
it's because you're a sheeple. That's what we just
I
discovered.
know,
right
I am
now.
a sheeple.
You're a Gmail sheeple.
And I've never seen the way that Hotmail looks or what they offer recently. I haven't
the
I haven't
same,
researched
essentially.
it. Same as Gmail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I set my Gmail up.
A lot of people still have it.
Yeah, they do. I set my Gmail account up before I even knew it was Google. This is back before Google was like Google today. They were big, you know what I mean? They had just bought YouTube and stuff, and they were like certainly a big company. But then I remember someone was like, and Gmail. And I was like, that's what the G stands for? I didn't know.
What was it? Google? Google Mail?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know. I didn't know that either.
Well, you must have. Google's Gmail.
No, I do know that.
Yeah.
I do know that, but I didn't realize.
Yeah, it was just
I
Google Mail.
didn't think of it that way.
But yeah, that never occurred to me.
Do you know what's so funny? I just realized that I told my high school teacher to listen to our podcast, and he has a Hotmail account. So now if he listens to this, I just realized it now that I'm like insulting Hotmail accounts, and he just emailed me from a Hotmail account.
Hopefully he'll just listen to episode 1 or 2.
But a lot of people do have Hotmail accounts. It's not just him.
I'd like to talk about something that's really close to my heart. Coming up very soon. In fact, by the time you hear this episode, it'll probably be around that time. Is an important date. That date is April 1st. Do you know what April 1st is in significance to me?
April Fools.
No, it's not. I mean, it is April Fool's. I'm not an April Fool's denier. I believe that is the holiday of the holiday. But do you know why April 1st is an important date?
No.
April 1st, 2013 is the day I quit my day job. I was high on magic mushrooms at that time, as I say on the intro to my song No Job. And I quit my day job and I gave back my big old fucking laptop, my MacBook Pro. That would have been my 2012 MacBook Pro. Canceled my benefits, quit my job, and started shooting music videos full time. And I remember saying to my girlfriend at the time, like, you know what? It's almost summertime because it's April, and this is the good time of year to shoot music videos. Like we shoot together, so you know what I mean. Like this is getting to be the time of year where you can start shooting all the time. And I shot 200 music videos that year, and then shortly after, I met you, and then lyric vids and podcast things, and it's crazy. It's crazy when you think about a single moment in your life where you made a call, and every decision leads to something. Sometimes it leads to like a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, a lot more good than bad. So you're like, okay, that was a good decision. I'm glad I did that thing. You know what I mean? If you ask for a raise and you took that risk and you go, hey, they might fucking be mad at me for asking, but I'm going to ask, and then you get the raise. Like, that's a good look. But when I quit that job, it was a big risk. My family didn't know what to think about it. I didn't have enough money to get me more than like 4 weeks out from that moment. You know what I mean? And if you think about all the fucking good that has come from making that, like that one day, making that one call, I can pinpoint the moment I thought the thing. And I remember sending the email, you know what I mean? And it's like my whole life changed. Honestly, I don't think I would have met you. I don't think this podcast wouldn't exist. My music career wouldn't have gone to the places that it went. I met so many people through being a video guy and just being around in the right circles. You know what I mean? And it helped me get my distribution deal with Fontana. It's like 1,000 things came from it. And so for me, April 1st is like a super special day. Like for a little while, I used to throw parties. I quit my motherfucking day job parties. At a certain point, you informed me that they were a little bit douchey.
They're not douchey. I think that people, even people that are, you're laughing before I even explain.
Oh, so get it.
Even people that are proud of you and that want to celebrate your success, I think find it hard to,
No,
I don't know.
as you said to me, the people you're celebrating with have to get up and go to work in the morning.
Yes.
And so that
100%.
that had never occurred to me because I'm so in my joy, and I can't believe that crazy decision paid
Well, put
off.
it this way. I've also never heard of anyone else doing that.
No, but that's me though.
Yeah.
I
know it's you. I know it's you. It's funny too, because you're also the person who said I think we even said it on the podcast that we were staying at this mansion in San Francisco, and you wanted to like ask the guy what he did, but it's like, oh, no, that's inappropriate. You can't ask somebody what they do for a living. It's kind of the same thing where it's just like you're celebrating that you did this like thing where you quit your job and now you're a self-employed. And it's just like, I think people are kind of weird and hush hush about those things where they don't want to necessarily celebrate and explore. You know what I mean?
But doesn't, because I hear you and you're right, but I think that those are weak feelings. Because if, let's say, for example, you know, there's a guy I know in the business. His name is Ish. Ish, he's on Spotify. He's got a really good dope new song out right now. You know, he's a fucking dope artist. When I was early in the game, when I first moved to Toronto, Ish is one of the artists I met in the circles. We shot these fucking freestyle videos. Me, Ish, and some other rapper shot some freestyle videos, and it was just like one of the rappers that you like mess with, and you just see him around. Ish started fucking blowing up. I started hearing his shit in line at Tim Hortons, like on the radio, and then all of a sudden he became an actor, and I see him in the Saw movies, and I see him on the that Supernatural TV show. I can't remember the fucking name of it. Maybe it's Supernatural. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah. He's just popping up on like TV shows and movies I watch, on top of the fact he's got like hit records and like crazy streaming numbers. And never once in my life was I like, fuck that dude. And if he's posting about it or being like, this is me on this. No, I'm always like, I'm glad to find out one of us, like, I want to be in a movie. I'm glad to find out that's an option.
For sure. And I also don't think that necessarily people see you throwing an event like that and think, fuck that dude.
But
like,
some people do.
Some people do, but those people are just salty and whatever.
No, totally. I just mean, it had never occurred to me until you said it that was.
But I mean, even your closest friends, I feel like they would rather go to like your birthday or something like that than go to a like I quit my job party when they have to work the next morning. You know what I mean?
You're totally right. No, 100% you're right. But this is just a really great example of one of the ways I feel so different than other people. Even if my friends felt weird about it, and some of them did probably, and some probably didn't. But the ones who did, it's a way that we're different, because for me, I detest having a job so much that even if it was Meyer who had figured it out, I'd be like, that's awesome. Let's celebrate. Like, that's such an important thing to me. I don't know. I always see it as
that's what it is. It is very specific to you, and it's a hard thing to throw a party of something that's so specific to you. You're the only one who would throw that party. Whereas if everybody had I quit my job parties, that'd be different. Then you'd all support each other.
But my birthday is automatic. Why should we celebrate? Like my mom popped me out. Great. I happened. My birthday's like your birthday's like this. Hey, I happened and we're glad.
Yeah.
And that's great. Sure, I hear you.
Yeah.
But the day I quit my day job,
See, but it's
that's a
special to
miracle.
you. It's very special to you.
Yeah, but how is my birthday more special to a
Because
random person than
that's how you came into being. That's everything about you.
Yeah, but
whereas your quit your day job party is just celebrating that one aspect of your
that's
life.
everything about me for sure.
See, but that's not my favorite part about you. I wouldn't say my favorite part about you.
Trust me, it is. Trust me, it is. Because if I had a day job still, and this part is very special to me or unique to me because not everybody feels this way. So please, nobody think like this has to be you. But I was miserable every minute, even when I was successful, even when I was the leading sales fucking rep, even when I was crushing it, I was miserable. Because I don't like someone telling me what to do all day. I don't like having to be somewhere at a certain time. You know me. It's just that doesn't fit in my DNA. And so I'm the guy you know. This guy is only the guy since he quit his day job. This is not the ill vibe from before he quit his day job. That guy was miserable. He went home and was too tired and too depressed to do anything. And I stopped rapping for years because I couldn't get the soul and energy up to do it. You know what I mean? And so that, trust me, that's not a guy you would have fallen in love with.
Okay, so then what I would say is that everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people are like that, where they're depressed, they're not enjoying their day job, but they can't rap, they're not creative, they don't have a video camera where they can start shooting music videos and all that stuff. So I think it's hard for them to celebrate that of someone else who had these outlets.
That's the part I agree with. And that's why I stopped throwing those parties.
Yeah.
That's the part I agree with.
And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to shit on your parties.
No,
I'm just giving
no.
that side of the...
No, I agree. That's why
the argument.
Your insight, I've been agreed with you because that's why I stopped, is because I hadn't thought about what would I feel like if I was at that party and I hated my job.
Yeah.
Being at that party would suck.
Yeah.
And so we stopped throwing that party.
Yes.
And we are throwing a party in the same month as that party. Yeah. It's just called the Anti-Gravity Party with my
that's more
band.
about your album release.
And and we're celebrating like the musicians I'm playing with and now we're actually raising money for charity. And so it's this whole positive thing. But I stopped doing the quit my job thing because of that.
Also,
but I am really excited about it, and I will be celebrating on the 1st.
I think we said this maybe not last podcast, but the podcast before. But if you're listening right now and you're in the Toronto area and you'd be interested in coming to the show, we're very happy to put a ticket aside for you at the door. Happy
to. We'd love to. We would love that.
So just send us a message. It's April 20th. Send us a message at damagedgoodspod@gmail.com and we'll put you on the guest list. We'll put a ticket aside for you and you can come party with us.
Yeah, that's right. I'm really excited. I had my jam session with my band this week. And I mean, I've spoken about it a bunch. I'm really excited about it. What's really cool is we finally now have gone through all the songs in the set with all of the musicians in the room at the same time. And that's a really important jam. We got everybody there. We do all the songs instead of doing just a couple of them and trying to learn a couple at a time and all that. And we did this one song called Grown Ass Man that I love and I'm having so much fun performing it. And Trevor, who is the fucking keyboard player, pulls out his saxophone and this motherfucker plays saxophone and keys at the same time. He's just playing the keys and on the sax at the same time.
So does he have the strap with the sax and he plays with one hand?
The song is very jabby, so he's doing one thing over here and
was it like?
It's like that type of shit. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. It did sound a lot like a song.
Yeah. But in any case, so it's very jabby. So he's going back and forth between them, but he's got the sax in his mouth and his hand on the keys.
Very cool.
So very cool. And I'm really excited to hit the stage. Right now, we're just jamming in Trevor's basement. So it's all happening in my mind, but I can't wait to unleash to the world.
I'm really excited.
I'm going to meet with my boy Connor over at the Haley Alsacer store to work on my wardrobes.
Nice.
For the show. I'm excited about it, man. And girl. And other.
Who's other?
Well, just all the others. I'm inclusive.
Inclusive. That's good.
And not sarcastically inclusive, just inclusive.
You know how you told me to look at the time and then see when we were at time?
You didn't do that?
I forgot to do that, so I have no idea what...
my guess is that we're probably at 90 minutes or so. So I think we can go for a little bit longer.
Cool.
I'd like to talk about this idea that I've been had. And I think it'd be fun to put it out there now because this is the time where we're kind of talking about it at a distance and kind of in theory. And if it were to happen, I think it would be really funny to be like, here's a clip of us musing about the idea. You know what I mean? And that idea is moving to LA and not permanently and not 12 months a year. And we'll still certainly be Canadians and we'll be around and we'll be working out of Toronto. But put it this way, we have started. I made the following Google search. I think is very telling. The Google search that I made was, how many months a year can a Canadian spend in a row in America? And the answer was 6 months. And so the idea that I pitched to Jess, as she gave me a half smile, half skeptical face, was us spending from November to April in LA, doing the podcast from there, me doing my music from there, and then spending summers in Toronto. And my birthday's April 28th, so basically it would be like birthday in LA and then coming back to Toronto for the summer. And so that's an idea right now. And there's a whole...
I don't think I gave you skeptical face.
No, I joke. But it is... No, it wasn't so much skeptical face as... It's big. Like anytime... Like it's the big one. Like I made a lot of crazy decisions. I quit my job and so on and so forth. Moving to LA is like the big one.
Yeah.
And you can't move full time. I'm not trying to... Well, I'm burping from all these drinks and joints. I'm not trying to be having any homeland security issues. Like I already had a little one in the past and I'm not trying to have that problem again. So I will play by the rules, no sweat. I'll come back at 5 months and 3 weeks every time. I'll ride the year out in Canada, no questions asked. And when I'm legally allowed to go back, I'll do so. And
so our main obstacles when we're talking about doing that is, what do we do with all our stuff? Do we have an apartment that we still have in Toronto? Probably not. It'd be way too expensive. So we'd have to get rid of our apartment, put our stuff in storage.
I think so.
Or at this point, if we bought a house in Niagara, we've been talking about maybe moving to an area where it's cheaper to buy a house in Toronto. We could have our house there. We could maybe Airbnb it to other tenants and then live in LA while we're Airbnb-ing. So there's a lot of different options that we could do.
Yeah. So so you're right. That's the big one is like
where are we living?
Like, where do you live? Yeah. So because I don't want to live nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in living nowhere.
Yeah. I think I would get a little bit unhappy if we did this for too long and like never felt like we had a home. But if we had a home to come back to, then I would feel fine with it.
My plan is not that we don't have no home, that we have 1.5 homes. That we have a home.
Yeah.
And we have an LA-based home.
No, I would love that.
A home away from home.
The traveling and being gone for 6 months isn't what scares me. It's more so what scares me is that if we had to come back and then find another apartment
every time, no.
Every time, you know what I mean? It would be like constantly moving every 6 months, and that sounds stressful.
That would be the cheapest way to book month-to-month places in LA and Toronto and go back and forth would be the cheapest way. I'd be willing to spend 30 or 40% more to not have that be the situation.
To be able to come home to
come home to my shit. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, the quality of my life and my comfort and my happiness, these are important things to me.
Also, it's so cool that we set up this like cool podcast studio. Right? It would suck to just completely give that up. And I know we would have it in LA too, but no, we wouldn't have that like home base. Well, it
certainly wouldn't be this amazing brick.
Yeah, this amazing brick.
Well, yeah, we would have something, but it wouldn't be this amazing brick. On the podcasting side, that's what's really cool is the idea is to fly into LA, buy microphones just like the ones that we have here on this podcast. Same as we bought them. I bought them on Amazon, being very transparent. Big Amazon Prime believer and subscriber. Funny enough, I pay for Amazon Prime and then I pirate shows from Amazon Prime because watching Amazon Prime shows on Amazon Prime is a pain in the ass. But nonetheless, I order the microphones from Amazon Prime. And we can order them from there, create a little mini studio there, and really change the nature of the types of people that we can book on our podcast, and then bring the mics home with us, sell them off, give them away as prizes or some shit. Like, I don't care. But the point is, I think it could be really cool for the podcast as well, because I think you'll feel the build up to the traveling on the podcast, and you're certainly going to feel the types of guests change. We've got a soft commitment from our friend Joel Jimenez.
Yeah.
It was pretty hard commitment actually.
Yeah.
But what I mean
it was basically like you guys couldn't stop me from being on your podcast.
Yeah, it was a pretty hard. It was a pretty hard commitment. But since we're not based there, I say soft as in it's like some potential future date if this were to all come together.
Sure.
But I'm really excited about it. And the cool thing about an idea like that one, and why I asked you, and why I'm saying it now is, when that's a potential light at the end of the tunnel, I feel like a little more excited already, just even doing this podcast and like, trying to build it into something, because now we have a potential plan of like, oh, we're going to take it here and make it this thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with my music. As we're having success, Let's Get Rich has now crossed like 22,000 streams and on Spotify, and I'm loving that. It's like, well, dope, because I would love to take that momentum to LA with me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it just
for
like
sure.
adds this extra exclamation point on stuff. So
And not to mention, like, beyond business, it's just like,
you're right.
It's just like nice. It's nice weather.
You're right.
It's just like the comedy and stuff is there. There's just so much to do at night and during the day. And it's just like, I'd love to live there for 6 months of the year. I really, really like the idea. And if we could make it work, I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, man. For $20 or so, we went down to the beach.
There's so many things you can do for a $20 Uber. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different pockets of areas you can go to.
That's it.
Whereas like in Toronto, it's like Toronto is great and Toronto has a lot of cool stuff to do, but there's no really like sub areas outside Toronto that are like cool to go to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, we live in Toronto, so we do have it good, certainly compared to many people who live in other places.
Yeah.
We already have the LA experience in Toronto in a lot of ways, in that there is a lot of things to do. We're going to go to the comedy bar tonight.
Yep.
Don't
get me wrong too. I hope any of our Toronto listeners, I love Toronto.
I've been wanting to go to Tilt again lately. Like maybe we can go on Monday or Tuesday. And I'm a big fan of the cool themed, vibed out places we have.
Yeah.
We got invited to a cool Tessa has an album release party in May at the supermarket in Kensington. The fact that we have Kensington, so we do have the LA experience. Here's the problem, and this is the reality of the problem. That LA experience is not the same when the snow falls.
Yeah.
Because the summertime in Toronto is dope as fuck. We take Callie to the dog beach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We go down to Kensington Market. We're going to the weed comedy clubs where we know the comedian. You're like, what's up, Mike? Like I love Toronto.
You're smoking outside.
But when
and
it's
just got like a
winter
different
time, it is
vibe.
not that same thing.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people who aren't Canadian and don't deal with like winter, like snow, wintertime, they think that we're just like used to it, I think, and that we have our toques on
Some
and that
people
we
are, not us.
we're outside and we love it. It's just like some of us don't love it. Like
dated
some
a
of
girl from
us
Parry
just
Sound.
like hibernate.
Some people are used to it. Those Parry Sound motherfuckers live like
Yeah, true.
they love that -30 shit.
We're Toronto folk.
Yeah,
It's a
we're
little bit
Toronto
different.
folk. You're like a Instagram model who like ride the subway and shit. Like, you're like, of course you don't like it. I hate it. My thing is, I wonder if it's my DNA, because with my Sicilian blood, when that temperature drops, the whole time I'm outside, all I can think about is, I'm a pretty smart guy. How have I not figured out a way to not
Live
be
here.
like to not be cold?
Yeah.
Like that should be high on my priority list.
Yeah.
You know. But alas,
It just makes everything so much more of a chore. It's just like, oh, do you want to like go for a walk? It's just like, no, I don't want to. Whereas in the summer, if someone's like, oh, do you want to walk down to the whatever? Like, it's like, oh, of course. Like, why not? It's nice out. I'll bring a roadie. You know what I mean?
So April 1st is my quit a job day, and it makes me think about, what do I still want to do? Like, remember, so I said I made a decision that day that really changed my life. And funny enough, it was on mushrooms, so I've always had this like connection to mushrooms with it. But it just, regardless, it's a decision. And it makes me think about like, what's the decision I could be making today that could have similar echoes in my life and really help me take it to another place that I'm almost in disbelief. I'm almost in disbelief I could be doing this all the time, and we're around this caliber of people and going to these cool fucking places.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm really trying to spend my time lately thinking about that. And you and I have an exciting animation project we're working on that's got me really inspired. For the first time, I'm working with how would I define like Megan Nora? Is like a pop artist? Is that what I'd say?
So.
Yeah, so I'm working with a pop artist on the label, which is really fun, and it's like kind of revitalized my interest in making music, because it's making rap songs for so many years. I wrote a song for like a girl singer, and then you're making this whole record that's completely different than something that I would do, and now we're mixing it. Notion's going to send us mixes tonight to listen to of her 2 singles. And it's fun. It's fun to kind of get into new areas. And then the big one for me, of course, is this podcast. I really want to become a great podcaster. That's why I was so bummed at last week's sound quality issues.
Yeah.
And anybody who listened,
Sorry, guys.
sorry about that. The reason that we still posted it was I really loved our convo. Katie was so great. For somebody who doesn't have any interest in being a podcaster professionally, she was so awesome.
Yeah.
And the convo was so great, and I was laughing. And so I figured, hey, we'll this will be one of our misses, but we'll still post it for the content. And then hopefully this one sounds better. I think we got everything working out nice. And I really want this to be great, and I apologize for arguing with you before the podcast, because that's what it was about. Was I get intense because I want these things that I decide are going to be like our legacy. You know what I mean? Or we decide, because it's not just me, but I mean in my head. I want them to be fucking great. I want people to listen to it and be like, wow, that was really something special. I really got to participate in something special. Because why else do we do it? If we're not going to do something really, really great, then you and I should just travel and go live it, like hang out at the beach every day. You know what I mean?
Or we should travel and do something
really great. Of course, we're going to do both those things. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you weren't great, because 70% of the mistakes are usually my problem. But that's it. No, so I apologize about being a dick before.
That's okay.
Yeah, I feel good. I really enjoy doing these one-on-ones with me and you. We went in on like
I feel like
technology
I feel that was really like somber and like serious.
It's good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
We've been affected. We've been listening to a podcast called what's it called? Reply All.
Reply All. Yeah.
Really been enjoying it, and it's been a little bit dark and a little bit somber.
Can I talk about the episode we listened to last?
Yeah. Why don't you give a little summary about Reply
talking
All?
Talking about other podcasts on the podcast isn't the thing we like want to do, but I think I'll
it's okay once in a blue moon.
It really was like one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. So they're called Reply All, and they did an episode where basically the one guy, sorry, I don't remember anyone's names, but the one guy got a
Alex.
Okay. Alex got a telemarketing call one day, and it was one of those like 1-800 number calls that sounds kind of sketchy. And they said, we're with your iCloud or whatever, and your iCloud isn't function. There's a virus in it. Or what was it? There was like something kind of error in your iCloud or whatever. And they said, we need to log on, and we need to do all this stuff and fix it. Basically, long story short, at the end, once he called them back a few times, and he kept kind of seeing what he can get out of them, what kind of information he can get out of them. And they ended up wanting $400. It was a scam. Then he starts like tracking the guy down. I'm not going to say too much, but basically it's a 2-part podcast where he tracks the guy down in India. Yeah. They go to India, they track the guy down, and there's a lot of drama.
It's amazing. Yeah, I was really impressed.
It's really amazing. I honestly feel like it could be a movie. Like, I think that they could like write a script and make a movie out of that entire story. It's a really, really interesting story.
Yeah. So Reply All, I can't remember what it's called, but if you're skimming through, it always lists like a brief synopsis.
It wasn't super recent either, because I did scroll down a little bit.
But it has a little brief synopsis on each one about kind of what it's about. And this one specifically says it's about scams from internet.
A 2-parter about internet scams, or telephone scams.
So much love, everybody. Thanks for listening. Follow us on social media. We're really easy to find. We nailed it on the social media. It's Ill Vibe. It's not. I don't have Ill Vibe everywhere. I have Ill Vibe Music or Ill Vibe.
No, it's true.
For Damaged Goods, it's Damaged Goods Pod everywhere. I posted a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, which is really not that entertaining, but I enjoyed myself just showing off the room and where we stash our alcohol and stuff. We do have Twitter. We're not there every day, but if you tweet us, we will get back to you. Instagram is where we live. We check it constantly. We're addicts. Facebook's where we post everything, and we're really trying to, we got the videos on YouTube and Facebook. And also the other thing I'd love to know is, are you listening audio or video?
Yeah.
So let us know, because I would love to, if things are heavy audio, I'll be careful to describe shit more, because I use my hands a lot. And if things are heavy video, people are like, oh, it's always video, I always watch video, then I'll show shit to the camera. You know what I mean? Like, so I could adjust my behavior based on the feedback.
It's true.
I could put my arm back on. You can't. Stay safe.
I was like, why does that sound familiar?
That's all I got.
That's all you got? Okay. So Anthony is at Ill Vibe on Instagram. I am at 4 Jess Robert on Instagram. And then, of course, we're Damaged Goods Pod everywhere. So Instagram, Twitter, our Facebook is Damaged Goods Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to lyricvids.com.
Love y'all.
Love you.